Welcome back to the Making the Madness YouTube channel. This is Jonathon Warner here to break down the Duke Blue Devils. Coming off a season where Duke kind of struggled. They missed the NCAA tournament, had some freshmen in some tough spots. DJ Stewart, Jeremy Roach, just kind of weren't ready. Jalen Johnson ended up leaving the team. Jermaine Brakefield, Henry Coleman, as well, have also left the team. So it was a young team. It was an inexperienced team. It was one that struggled mightily and ended up missing the NCAA tournament. But they're going to be back, and I think this season is going to be a big one for them as they return a handful of pieces. And I think they add a freshman class that is built to come in and win right away. So without further ado, let's dive into this. At the point will be Jeremy Roach. He's someone that was certainly very solid this past season. Had some up and downs, but certainly kind of later in the season had more ups than downs. He's someone I don't think is a necessary true point guard, but I think he'll be kind of tasked with running the offense for his team. He's someone that he can get his own shot. He can create for others. A decent 3-point shooter, so getting him back is certainly going to be big. Duke really needed a point guard. He's not necessarily the truest of true point guards, but he's certainly going to be good. And I think he's someone just looking at recent comparisons to even Kentucky. Emmanuel Quickly, he wasn't very good as a freshman. Got a little bit better late in the season and then took off and won SEC Player of the Year. I think Jeremy Roach could have that type of explosive breakout season. So look for him to be certainly very big. At the 2 will be Wendell Moore. I think they could end up going with Trevor Keels, AJ Griffin. I think there's a lot of ways they could go, but ultimately I think they go with Wendell Moore, and it's someone that's been experienced, someone that's been in the rotation for a little while, and he's someone certainly a very versatile defender. He can defend, I think, 2 through 4 pretty well, and he's someone hasn't really gotten it going offensively yet. Has kind of just carved out a role as being a glue guy, but this is a team that has some superstars. AJ Griffin, Paulo Banchero are fantastic players. Jeremy Roach, I've already mentioned, is set to take a big step forward. I think Mark Williams will take a step forward. You really kind of need a glue guy, a guy who can defend the other team's best player, and I think that's what Wendell Moore provides. So certainly getting him into mix is going to be big. AJ Griffin, let's start with him in terms of the freshman. Certainly not as highly touted as Paulo Banchero, but he's going to be a very good player. He's a 5-star freshman, someone that I think can create his own shot. He's, think set to have a big season, and you could see with him, he's not quite at Paulo Banchero's level, but he can score. He's someone that's got very good guard skills, someone that's very athletic. I think he could take a big step forward. And then you, of course, get into Paulo Banchero, who I think could wind up being the number 1 pick. We've seen some of these early mock drafts have Paulo Banchero being the number 1 pick. I think it'll probably be in the end between him and Chet Holmgren. And Paulo Banchero, I think, certainly has a chance to go number 1. He's just, as high tool, he's 6'10", I think that's what he's listed at now. He's someone that, can create shots off the bounce. He can shoot, and really kind of as a high school player started off as a guard and just, got taller. And those are the type of players you need to be warned of. It's the Anthony Davises. It's, players like that where, they're not necessarily regarded as, being a great prospect, and all of a sudden they grow 6 inches, and now all of a sudden, Paulo Banchero is, potentially number one / number two recruit, number two recruit in, the 247 database. So he is going to have an electric season. I think he leads the team in scoring. At the 5, they, of course, have Mark Williams. He's someone that, kind of late in the season, early in the season, kind of struggled, got into some foul trouble, but really came on, had a big game against Louisville, was doing really big back before the shutdown, and ultimately, I think he's slated to have a big season for this upcoming season, and he'll be someone you can rely on. I think close to 10 rebounds. I think he'll score in double figures. Maybe you see like a 12.8 rebound type average from him, and that wouldn't be surprising at all. Looking at the bench, I think they'll, of course, the sixth man will be Trevor Keels. He's someone, I think maybe, the best shooter when it comes to just looking at this team. He's a high-level shooter, someone that, has a good frame. I could see him ending up starting. I would tend to think they end up just going with, the starting 5 mentioned, but he's someone I could see maybe, if they decide, hey, Wendell Moore, we'll have you come off the bench. I think Trevor Keels at that point would be the guy who inserts into the starting lineup. He's a, high-level scorer, and a top 20 recruit. So he's going to be certainly a big piece for them. Whether he starts, whether he's a sixth man, expect him to play over 20 minutes per game and be a big contributor to this team. Elsewhere on the bench, Joey Baker is, someone that we know a little bit about him. He's, of course, had his redshirt year pulled off. Not great, but, he was someone that he can shoot threes, a little bit of a floor spacer, and at 6'7", that's a good size. So he's someone that can contribute. Then, of course, they add in Theo John. I think he's someone, he'll come off the bench, replacing Mark Williams. He'll defend, he'll rebound, he'll block shots. Not an insane scorer by any means, but, if you just get someone who can play, the bench roles, can give you 5 fouls, that's enough. So, I mean, when you're looking at this Duke team, I think they have a very, very solid 8-man rotation. Maybe they throw Jalen Blakes in there. Maybe they throw Bates Jones. But, I mean, just looking at I like that 8-man rotation going into next season. I think Duke is the team. If you're looking at an ACC team, I, of course, won't pick them to win the ACC because they never do. They're cursed. They can't win it. But when you're looking at an ACC team to make the deepest run in the NCAA tournament, I think it's Duke. I think they're going to win the ACC tournament. I think they'll make a run in March, get to an Elite Eight, get deep into the tournament. And I think this could be one of Coach K's last great teams. So it's time to appreciate Coach K. It's time to appreciate what's being built because we don't know how long he'll last. But what we know right now is going into next season, high expectations for Duke, big bounce back year for Duke. So stay tuned to Making the Madness on YouTube. We will continue to talk about different teams previewing the upcoming season. But until then, stay tuned.